Hello, 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 my little devil darlings. This is Penny, the angelic sweetheart here, and welcome back to Paranormal Penny Podcast. And I'm so sorry I haven't been doing podcasts lately. Ideas just weren't coming to me, and yeah, So today we are going to be talking about some experiments that have been performed throughout history. But some of the ones that we're going to be talking about / reading about today is like 7 of the creepiest science experiments that will give you nightmares. We'll be the judge of that. Okay, now. The first experiment was called Unit 731. And, okay, let's see what this... Let's see what this has to say. You might have heard about the inhumane experiments done by Nazis during World War II. No, I have not. I gotta look that up. But they were not alone. The Imperial Japanese Army's Unit 71 carried out atrocities in the name of scientific experiments, some details of which are still left to be uncovered. It was until 1984 that Japan acknowledged about conducting cruel experiments on humans to prepare for germ warfare. Okay, that makes some sense to me. Set up in 1938, the objective of Unit 731 was to develop biological weapons and was supported by Japanese universities and medical schools that supplied doctors and research staff to carry out such vile experiments. The unit used thousands of Chinese prisoners and Asian civilians as guinea pigs to develop killer diseases. Wow, okay. The experiments included infecting wartime prisoners with cholera, anthrax, plague, and other blah blah blah. English, I swear. Horrific. Still, some of the experiments involved vivisection without anesthesia and in pressure chambers to identify how much of a human can take before bursting. Oh my gosh! What's creepier is that the post-war American administration provided safe passage to some of those involved with Unit 731 in exchange of findings of their experiment. Okay, that sounds insane. What in the actual hell? What? How could they find safe passage? I don't freaking know. This is weird. Okay. The next one is called the Tuskegee, I can't pronounce that word, syphilis experiment, okay. The T-word study, I can't pronounce that word, of untreated syphilis in the Negro male is infamous because of the tragedy it caused to people suffering from the disease in the name of free treatment. Okay. Between 1932 and 1972, 600 men were originally enrolled for the project, consisting of 399 with latent syphilis and 201 as control group. Wow, okay. Monitored by doctors of U.S. Public Health Service, these men were given only placebos such as aspirin and mineral supplements rather than treating with penicillin, which was the recommended treatment at the time. The purpose of the study was to understand the effect and spread of the disease on human body because of the unethical considerations by scientists. Oh, there's a period. Okay, try that again. Because of the unethical considerations by scientists, 28 participants perished from syphilis, 100 died because of related complications, and more than 40 spouses were diagnosed with the disease. passing syphilis to 19 children at birth. What? President Clinton in 1997 issued his apology to the survivors and families of the victims of the study, stating, "The United States government did something that was wrong, deeply, profoundly, morally wrong. It is not only in remembering that shameful past we can make amends and repair our nation, but it is in remembering that past we can build a better present and a better future." I agree with that one. But giving syphilis to children, are you serious? Fuck that. Okay, this next one is called the Two-Headed Dogs? Two-Headed Dogs? Okay, I never heard of that one. Alright. Okay, Vladimir Demikhov was a successful surgeon, and his studies have helped medical science to advance, especially in the field of organ transplant and coronary surgery. I think I pronounced that right. Demikhov was the first person to perform a successful coronary artery bypass operation on a warm-blooded creature. But behind his successful operations, there are a few of his experiments that can make you feel uncomfortable. His famous two-headed dog experiment is one of them. He stitched the head, shoulders, and front legs of a puppy onto the neck of a German Shepherd. What? Although the surgery was a success as both dogs can move around independent of each other, they didn't survive very long due to the tissue rejection. Demikhov created 20 such two-headed dogs, but the highest one survived only for a month. While the experiment may sound cruel, it indeed helped in pioneering organ transplants in humans. How did that help humans? I don't understand that at all. Okay, and this one is called testicle transplants. In one of the most disturbing experiments, Leo Stanley, the physician in charge at San Quentin Prison in California, surgically transplanted the testicles of executed criminals into living inmates. Stanley felt that males who committed crimes share a common characteristic: low testosterone levels, and raising it would reduce the crime rates. More than 600 inmates became the victim of Stanley's crazy theory, and when there was a shortage of human testicles, he went to inject liquefied animal testicles into the prisoners. Ugh! Stanley claimed that the experiment was a success after citing a Caucasian prisoner who felt energetic after transplanting the testicle from an executed African-American convict. Okay, that's disgusting. Okay, and this one is called the Stanford Prison Experiment. Never heard of that one. Okay. In 1971, a group of researchers at Stanford University conducted an experiment to investigate the causes of conflict between prisoners and guards. 24 students were assigned the roles of prisoners and guards randomly and were put into a prison-like environment. Meant to last for 2 weeks, the study was abruptly ended only after 6 days. It became difficult to control in main order. Despite being told to use any form of violence, 1 in every 3 guards showed their tendency to abuse. Okay? Surprisingly, many of the prisoners accepted the abuses and led 2 of them to suffer emotional trauma. The study showed that how power of situations can influence an individual's behavior. Okay, the Beyond Scared Straight program is one thing, but this is another. Alright. Okay, zombie dogs. I never heard of this one. Known as experiments of the revival of organisms, Russian scientists Dr. Sergei Bru blah 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 and Boris blah 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 released a video of dogs' heads that were kept alive by an artificial blood circulation system. Using a special heart-lung apparatus called the autojector, the scientists showed dog heads responding to sound by wiggling their ears, blinking their eyes, and even licking their mouths. Ugh. The experiment was repeated again by American scientists in 2005 by flushing all the blood from the dog and replacing it with oxygen and sugar-filled saline. After 3 hours of blood transfusion and electric shock, the dogs were back from the dead. Jeez, this is like Frankenstein all over again, but more disgusting. Ew. Ugh. Okay. Last one is called the MK Ultra. Okay. The MK Ultra is one of the most famous projects conducted by CIA to develop mind control techniques that can be used against enemies during war. Lasted for more than a decade, from 1950 to 1970. The project's main goal was to remain ahead in the mind control technology, but the scope widened eventually, resulting into illegal drug testing on thousands of Americans. Using drugs like LSD and other chemicals along with other forms of psychological torture, the agency tried to alter the brain functions and manipulate mental states of the people. The documentation related to the project was ordered to be destroyed completely, but in 1977, the Freedom of Information Act released more than 20,000 pages on the program. Wow. And yeah, that was all the creepiest experiments. Some of them actually kind of grossed me out. Okay. Now, I want to know what other terrible things the Nazis did. Okay, this is a Nazi medical experiments. Okay, well, let's read about this, I guess. Perhaps the most infamous evil experiments of all time were carried out by Joseph Mengele, an SS physician at Auschwitz, blah blah, I can't pronounce it. Combed the incoming trains for twins upon which to experiment, hoping to prove his theories of the racial supremacy of Aryans. I don't know. Many died in the process. He also collected the eyes of his dead patients, according to the U.S. Holocaust Memorial Museum. Ew. The Nazis used prisoners to test treatments for infectious diseases and chemical warfare. Others were forced into freezing temperatures and low-pressure chambers for aviation experiments. Countless prisoners were subjected to experimental sterilization procedures. One woman had her breasts tied off with strings so doctors could see how long it took her baby to starve. Oh my gosh, according to an oral history collected by the Holocaust Museum. She eventually injected the child with lethal dose of morphine to keep it from suffering longer. Oh my gosh! Some of the doctors responsible for these atrocities were later tried as war criminals, but Mengele, escaped South America. He died in Brazil in 1979 of a stroke. Oh my gosh, that is terrible. Wow. You know what, that's all I'm gonna read for now. Again, I really am sorry for not, making, podcasts lately. I just haven't been feeling This is why I can't, because I can't talk. This is why I can't freaking speak. Anyway, as I was saying, ideas just haven't been coming to me, and that's all I can say. But I hope you guys enjoyed this kind of creepy and disturbing podcast about very dark experiments that have been done throughout history. And if you guys would like some more dark content, dark and disturbing content this spooky month, let me know in the comments below. Follow all my social medias, and I will see you all next time, hopefully next week, if I can come up with another idea for a podcast, okay? Stay creative!